Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to throw it back again with an old video that I made quite a while ago, but I'm just getting around to posting it now. I actually made a rainbow cardstock background and I'm going to share exactly how I did that with you today. Now for this card, I am using the Weather Gnome stamp set. This is from Craft and Desert Divas. Now I was on their design team, so this was given to me for free. However, their stamps are really great. I still love them, still use them, and I actually made this card while I was on the design team. I am no longer on there, just so you know. So I'm not affiliated with them in any way. Now to start off with, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of die cutting here. I've got the Crazy Stitched Frames dies, and I'll leave all these links down below of the exact products I used, but I'm going to cut that die from a rainbow order of cardstock. So I've got my red and my orange and my yellow. I'll do green and blue and also a purple. That's going to allow me to piece these together using the same die. So you want to make sure you're using the same die. Doesn't have to be specifically this one, but you just want to make sure that you're using the same one and cutting out your rainbow order of cardstock. Now you can also do this with a bunch of different colors. And if you only have certain pieces, like here I didn't have the full sheet of purple that I wanted to use, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I know that's going to be on the end, so I'll cut just that piece with the die, and that will allow me to use smaller pieces. I'm also going to go ahead and cut this from white cardstock. That's going to give me a place to adhere everything. Now I need to do some clouds on this card too, so I'll be cutting that same die from vellum and another piece of white cardstock as well. So what I found, what worked best for me was to use my paper trimmer and cut two pieces at once. So I'm starting with my red and my orange since those are my first two colors. I've measured this out, so I know I need to cut 3/4 of an inch each time. You'll just want to measure and make sure. Take your measurement, divide it by the number of cardstock pieces or colors you have, and then go from there. That's how wide you need to cut each one of your strips. Now, I found that this worked best because I could cut two of these at the same time. So I've got my red now, and I've also got my orange started where I need it to start, so I don't have to go in and make another cut. So I'll go ahead and put my orange and my yellow together now and cut at another 3/4 of an inch. So now I've got my orange piece, but I also cut my yellow piece where it needs to start the next time. So that way everything's gonna line up really well on this. Now my next color would be green, so I'm gonna go ahead and line up my yellow and my green cardstock, put that in my paper trimmer, go another 3/4 of an inch down. So I'm at 2 1/4 at this point. And I'll go ahead and cut that same piece again. So cutting two pieces at one time. Now I have my yellow strip of cardstock ready, but I have my green started where I need it. So I'll go in and put my green and my blue together and load that into my paper trimmer and cut at another 3/4 of an inch. So I'm at 3 inches now. I'm not great at math, so you'll have to forgive me here. I just counted 1/4 of an inch every time, and that's just how I did it because I did not want to figure this out in my head. So I'll go ahead and cut that, and I'm cutting the green and the blue together at this point. And then I have my green piece ready and my blue started where I need it to start for my next cut. Now with these two, so I've got my blue and my purple, and you'll remember my purple was not where it needed to be. So I'm actually going to go ahead and cut these the opposite way. So I just flip that around, and then I'll go ahead and cut my purple and my red together because I'll finish off my panel with a red piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to go ahead and start by putting all of these or adhesive strips on the back of these. I'm using some pretty strong adhesive here. This is also pretty thin. This is score tape and it's not that thick of an adhesive. You could also use a liquid adhesive if you want to have a little playtime of putting these down. You just want to make sure that you have your die cuts lined up. So I've got the stitching on this die, so I can line up where the stitching needs to go on the white panel that I have behind this. I'll go ahead and take off my yellow piece or my yellow backing paper, and then I'll go ahead and place that cardstock strip down next. I'm just going in rainbow order here, so my next one would be green. Then I'll do some blue and some purple. Now I did not have enough colors here, so I decided to actually finish this off with red. You could do an ombre look here and that would be gorgeous. You could do any different color combination you wanted. I just happen to like rainbows, so that's what I went with for this card. Plus it matched my sentiment that I was using. So I'm putting down my blue strip next. I'm making sure these are all tucked up very, very close to each other. That way there's no white peeking through on the back. And if I have any little scragglies, because sometimes cutting 2 pieces of cardstock at once with my paper trimmer will give me a few of those little scraggles on the edges of my cardstock, I just take a sanding block and kind of sand those away. Very simple and easy to do. So I finished off that panel with my red cardstock, and that is the cardstock background ready to go. It's a great rainbow, and now all I need to do is finish the rest of my card. So I wanted to make some clouds. I want a scallop on the top and bottom. So I'm using the scallop die set from Craft and Desert Divas as well. All the stitching matches with their dies, so that's nice. I don't have to go and find another stitching that will match that. I went ahead and cut the top with white cardstock, and then I'm going to go ahead and take that top, line it up on the bottom, insert my scallop into the bottom of that. That way everything kind of lines up and you've got the exact same on the bottom as you do on the top. Now I'm going to switch to the larger scallop in that die set and cut from the vellum cardstock. I'm going to go a little bit higher so this peeks out from behind. I want the white on the top and then the vellum behind. So I'm going to go up a little higher. I'm using painter's tape to hold everything down as I run it through my die cut machine. I'm going to do the same exact technique here. I'll take that bottom and line it up with the, or I guess the top and line it up with the bottom. And that way I can insert that die right into where it had already cut and everything's going to line up. It's going to look really symmetrical on this card. I figured since the background was so symmetrical, I would want these clouds to be pretty much the same as well. So I'm holding that down. I don't need to remove this piece because running 2 pieces of vellum through at a time is no big deal for the big shot. So I ran that through, and there I've got these great clouds to go on my background for my little girl to sit on. Like I said, I'm using the Weather Gnome stamp set, and I'm using this little girl that looks like she's painting a rainbow. I'll go ahead and stamp her with some Memento ink onto some white cardstock. This is just a scrap piece, so I can go ahead and cut this out. I'm coloring this in very, very quickly with my alcohol markers. I am no expert colorer by any means. I use the Dick Blick Studio brush markers. I'll leave links down to everything down below. And I'm just coloring this in very quickly. I'm using some of the same colors that I used on the background, so rainbow colors here. I went ahead and colored in her dress blue, her little headband, I could not think of that word, with some black, colored in it with a little blue and some blonde hair, and that does it. It was super simple. Now on the back of that panel, I want to pop it up away from the black card base that I'm using. So I actually used some black fun foam on that so it wouldn't peek out white from behind. Now on those little clouds, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. So I put my little girl down as a placeholder. That way I could go ahead and stamp the sentiment. You color my world. I'm using a black dye ink. Use whatever works for you to stamp out your sentiments with. I stamped that right on the little white cloud border. And then on the back of that, where the vellum will not show through, I'll go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive. That vellum will kind of hang off and have a little bit of movement, if you will, but it really is a fun look. Now for the little girl, I added some fun foam on the back of her. I'm going to pop her up as well. I placed that same die that I had used on the inside of the card. So I'm going to stamp the inside before I move on to the outside. I'm stamping a few of those paint cans, and I also did a little bit of masking with those, just very quick masks for masking paper, and I'm stamping a few more. That way I get 5 so I can stamp out or color these in rainbow order. I said 5, I should have said 6. I stamped out 6 of them. And then the paint that is in the paint cans, I'll go ahead and color in with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Then each one of the little paint cans I'll go ahead and color in very quickly with a little bit of gray to finish off the inside of the card. The labels I went in with some black just for a nice contrast and to match that black card base that I'm using. Putting this white die cut on the inside is going to allow me to easily write my message on the inside. I won't have to use a white gel pen or anything fancy. I just have that white background on the inside. Plus you've got that little bit of stamping on the bottom that matches the outside of the card. Now I'll go ahead and pop on that panel onto the card base. This is an A2 side folding card base that I'm using horizontally, and I'll place that down. It's got that fun foam, so I've got more dimension on that as well. And that finished off the card. I am loving the way this one turned out. I did add a few enamel accents. You'll have to forgive me as I go through this. It's been many, many months since I made this card, but I added a few little enamel accents and that finished off the card. That does it for me today. I'm gonna take a look at a few more finished pictures of this card. You've got the nice paint cans on the inside that match the outside, and that little girl with her rainbow brush. I absolutely love it. This one I gave to my daughter, and she loved it too. She loves rainbows right now. Really rainbow unicorns, but rainbows will do, I suppose. There's a closer look at the inside, and also a little bit of that dimension you get on the outside. That does it for me today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. There are going to be links on the left side of your screen as always. Excuse the thunder in the background. And if you want to subscribe, you can do that on the left side as well. If you like the video, you can click the thumbs up down below. Happy crafting!